Hello, and welcome to the Media Resources ViQEditor software training. We'll double-click the ViQEditor icon to launch the application. The type of display that you have purchased is an asynchronous display. This is the default setting for the ViQEditor, so we'll leave it as asynchronous and push OK. The software will open up. On the left-hand side, we have a margin, which we will be creating our file, bringing in our content. The top square, we have a staging area, it's a representation of the display. On the right-hand side, we have properties for any element that we click. And finally, at the bottom, we have a media library container. These are images that I have brought into the software. Going through the top toolbar, we click File, New, Open, Save. A side note, any change made within the software gets automatically saved. The file Save As is if you want to move from one computer to another. You can transfer the program that you've created. View turns on and off the various quadrants. Properties bar off, properties bar on. It also helps us bring back the elements if we accidentally click that black X. Element, this is how we'll be creating our program, and I'll be going through each one of these in more detail shortly. Preview, play, pause, stop, which is the same as the play, pause, stop buttons right here. Once we're finally finished making our program and we're ready to publish, remote, publish, which is the same as this publish and manage icon right here. Tool, these are hard-coded configurations to the sign, so we'll be skipping over these as they have already been set. Language, you have the choice of 2 languages, and help, about, brings up information about media resources. So let's get started creating a schedule. To start creating, we'll be moving left to right through the Resource Explorer. The first button being Media Library. This is where we will bring in all of the content that we wish to display on our screen. The second button is Add a File. This is what gets published to the digital display outside. The file holds all of the content and the schedule. The third button is adding a playlist. Playlists are representative of time slots. So you can have a playlist for content you want to play only during the week. You'll have another playlist for content you only want to play on the weekend. You can keep it at one playlist and play 24/7. If you want a message to come in on a random weekday night for a couple hours, it gets its own playlist. And finally, if you want to pre-plan messages for the holidays, for special events you may have, you can put those into another playlist and schedule them to start at those specific times. The fourth button is Play Window. The play window is added onto the playlist and tells you how much of the screen you want to utilize during those time slots. And finally, the fifth button is how we add in our various content, whether they be files, edit text, ticker text, clock, or sensors. So let's start creating. I'm going to click Media Library to start. This opens up the Media Library box where we can start to import videos, images, or texts. To import any of the 3 following, click Image, Import, and we'll navigate to where the content is on our computer, select all of our content, and click Open. I'm just going to click Yes to all to overwrite the files. Now that all of the content is brought into the media library here, it will also appear in the media library container at the bottom. We can now close the media library box. Moving on to the second button, we'll add a file. We have File 1. On the right-hand side, we have its file's properties. Again, because the file is published to the display, it holds the content as well as the schedule up here. More file properties are the XY starting position. These are left at 0, as you want content to start in the very top left corner of the digital display. Width and height, it defaults to the 480 by 320, but these values will be changed to the corresponding pixel size of the digital display that you have purchased. These values will be provided to you. The other option I wanted to show was the magnifying glass. Zoom in, zoom out, and 100%. This centers the staging area. If we zoom out, we can see the whole digital display and get a better feel for what we're working on. The file, when you add it, already comes with a playlist, which is the third icon, and an overlay playlist. The overlay playlist, if it holds content, plays over top of everything else that's scheduled. It's a top layer, or a top layer of paint that you're not able to see through. Any content on the overlay will play on top of any other playlist scheduled. For right now, we're going to remove this. Building our first playlist or a time frame. On the right hand side, we can change the name. Weekday, for example. Now, each playlist needs a play window, so we'll add play window. On the right hand side, we have its properties as well. The XY starting positions will stay at 0, and the width and height of the play window will need to match those of your file and digital display. We can change these manually. You can also click and drag the play window's blue square and drag it to the full size of the file. This means we want to use the whole screen of the physical display outside when showing content. The fifth button, File, Edit Text, Ticker, Text, Clock, and Censor, is how we start filling that play window with our content. If we click File, this brings up the media library again, which step we have already completed. We'll close this. From the media library at the bottom container, you click an image and holding left click, drag it into the play window. This will start filling your play window with the content of your choosing. And this is how we start building what we want on the digital display. Click and drag. I can also click and drag into the left-hand margin and put it into a specific order, such as I want this koala before the butterfly. Click and drag it just before the butterfly. On the right-hand side, for each piece of content that you've dragged in, you have its properties. So this one is nicely named butterfly, whereas the previous file is not. We can change the name, koala. We can change the display time. This is how long the koala will be displayed before moving on to the butterflies. This is in seconds, so it'll do 5 seconds before changing over. We can change this to any increment we choose, 15 seconds, 1 minute, which would be 60 seconds, so on and so forth. Play count stays at 1. Media is filled in with the associated picture file that comes from your computer. This will automatically be filled in. You do not have to worry about it. Speed. This is how many seconds it will take for the transition effect to complete before moving on to the next image. This is in seconds as well. So 3 seconds or 1 second. You have the choice between 1 and 3. And finally, we have from the drop-down menu, the enter and leave effects. It defaults to random, but we have slides, covers, rotates. These enter and leave effects parallel that of Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm just going to change this back to 5 seconds. Going back to our Elements button here, we also have the option to add in an edit text. Clicking edit text brings up a WordPad document where we can type, "Welcome to Media Resources." By selecting everything, I can center. I can also make the font bigger. I can change the style of font. And I can change the color. Once I'm happy with all of the above, I push OK. And you'll see that edit text has now been added in after butterfly and into our rotation. Edit text also has the same properties, so display time, the speed of the transitions, and the transition effects. It also has text, click to edit. This is how, if we were to make a typo, or if we want to change what the edit text says, We click on the text, click to edit, and it opens back up the WordPad document. Please keep in mind, I can only center on the horizontal axis. If I want to center this into the middle of the screen, I have to push enter, 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 push OK, and now it is centered into the middle of the screen. This may take plus or minus a couple enters just to get the adjustment picture perfect. The third button or element that we can add in is a ticker text. This opens again a WordPad document.
Do you know the company that you purchased
Push OK. And again, this has added ticker text in next in line. On the right hand side, we have display time. This is overridden by how long the ticker text is. If it takes longer than 5 seconds for the ticker to complete, it will wait until the ticker is completed before moving back to its default rotation. You can change the speed at which the ticker goes. 3 is a slower setting. We can increase this to 1, which makes the ticker go much faster. I can also change text, click to edit, because I had noticed I had made a mistake in the spelling. Push OK. And below this I have the ability to change the font size and font color. Going back to our Elements button, we can add in a clock. And again, this fills in next in line in the rotation. Thursday, November 3rd, 11:38 a.m., 2016. If we want to change the format of that clock, on the right hand side we have again text. We'll click to edit this. In our preview is the format that the clock will render in. We can delete this and create our own. For any value, you'll want to click the buttons or the predefined buttons up top. So if I just want a standard 12-hour clock, hours, minutes, AM, PM, I'll click 12 hour and pull the value. But the colon in between hours and minutes, I have to manually type on the keyboard. So shift, colon, it adds in. I'll pull the minutes, and I'll hit the space button on the keyboard, AM, PM. So now I just have hours, minutes, and the AM, PM. I'll push OK. And it has changed the format of the clock to something a bit more minimalistic and easier on the eyes. I can then go align text into the center and perhaps make it a bit bigger. Even bigger than that. We can rinse and repeat if we want the clock and a date as well. We'll just go back to clock 2. Text, click to edit. And this time we'll do day, short month, long year. Push OK. I'll center this one and maybe make it bigger. This gives you the opportunity to create clocks and dates in the format of your liking. Finally, the last button within the Elements menu here is Sensor. If we add in Sensor, it again adds into the next spot in line in our playlist. On the right hand side we still have text. We'll click to edit. This time maybe we just want to put the temperature in Celsius. So we'll get rid of everything else and just put Celsius. Push OK. Just like the clock, we can assign center, and I'll make it bigger. I can also change the color. So right here we have a very basic schedule. It'll play through all of these pieces of content in rotation, one right after the other. And if we take a look at the display time, all of them are set to 5 seconds. Right now, if you want to click File, we can go to Preview. And we can preview our file how it would be on the display without even putting it on the display yet. This is so we can double check our transitions, ensure that they are fast enough, ensure that the clocks and the ticker text or the edit text don't have any typos. Basically, the preview does a verification of your file. I'll stop the preview for now. Right now we only have one time slot. If we want to add in another one, which would be the third button, playlist. I'm going to change the name to weekend. Again, this playlist will need a play window. I'm going to drag it to the full size of the screen, and I'm going to start filling that play window with content. Click on the castle and drag it in. Click on the jellyfish and drag it in. All right. So now we have a schedule with two different time slots. We have a file with two different time slots needing to be scheduled. We click File. On the right-hand side, we have Schedule. We'll click to edit. This will open up the Schedule and Task window here. If it is blank like this, it treats all of the playlists as 24/7. Play the weekday and then the weekend. Play all of the contents within the weekday container in order, and then play all of the ones in weekend container in order, all day, every day. If we want to split them up so it only plays on weekday and the weekend only plays on weekend, click Add. Task is Play File. The file playlist, we're going to choose our weekday one and click Add. The begin date will be today at maybe 6 in the morning. The end date we'll schedule for this month, so the end of the month. And in 24-hour time, call it 11 p.m. To get it to only play during the week, we have to double-click Validate Day. And from the drop-down, we deselect Sunday and Saturday. This will play from today at 6 a.m. till November 30th at 11 p.m. only on the weekdays. The other option you have is the play mode. If left at normal, it treats the begin date and time and end date and time as bookends and plays 24/7 in between. If you double click and from the drop down menu change it to daily, the sign will play from 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. between those defined dates and will be black throughout the night. So from every day, it'll only play from 6 till 11 p.m. If left at normal, it'll play through the night until November 30th at 11 p.m. We push OK. And we can click Add, and we'll rinse and repeat for the weekend. Add from today at 6 a.m. to the end date of November 30th, and this time from the validate day, we'll get rid of the weekday. Push OK. So now we have all time accounted for. We have a 24/7 schedule for weekday content and a 24/7 for weekend. When creating schedules, it's important to make sure that all time is accounted for. If there's any time that does not have a playlist scheduled, the sign will revert to being black. If you need to turn the display off every night due to complaints or bylaw restrictions, it's best to just leave a blank portion in your schedule as opposed to turning the sign off and on a daily basis. Again, if there's no playlist scheduled for a specific time, the sign will default to being black. Another trick within the scheduling is if you want to alternate different content for different weeks. So weeks 1 and 3 of the month will be the weekday content, and weeks 2 and 4 would be the weekend content here. We can modify. We'll change the end date to the 4th, So we have the weekday playlist is going to play for the first week of November. And we'll add in another one for the 14th until the 18th for the same times. Zero. And from the validate day, we'll get rid of the weekend. So it's like the same. So this will now read a weekday playlist scheduled for the first week of November. It will then stop playing. The weekend playlist from the left-hand margin and its content will then start playing. And then finally, on the third week of November, on the 14th here, the weekday content will kick back in. Push OK. And we'll just do the opposite for the weekend playlist here. This weekend will now start on the 7th, go to the 11th, and another one will start on the 21st and go to the 25th. And because we're alternating weeks this time, we'll add in just all the days. Push OK. So once the schedule has been verified, gone through, and ensure that there's no blank spots, we're ready to publish. I'm going to close the schedule and task menu. And again, go back up to remote, publish. This brings up the publish menu. We're going to want to type upload media. The content will be file 1, which is the name of our file. The terminal. This is the network address that the sign is on. We make sure that the checkbox is checked. And I click publish. Connect failed because I'm not connected to a signed controller. If I were, it'll go from 0 to 100% and say play succeeded. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Publish. It will go from 0 to 100%. Play succeeded. Once you see play succeeded, you'll be able to look out your window or take a look at your digital display and see the content and the schedule you've created take effect immediately. Once it's playing on the display, there is nothing left within the software to change. Any changes done in the software, for example, if we no longer like the date in there, we can right-click and remove. Removing the date within the software after publishing once will not change what's on the digital display. To remove the date from the digital display, we need to go back into Remote Publish and republish our updated schedule, updated file. Close. This concludes the Media Resources ViQEditor software training. You are encouraged, and please be reminded to email all service requests to service@mediaresources.com, or please feel free to give us a call at 905-337-0993, and we will be more than happy to assist with any software or hardware related issues. Thank you, and have a good day.